welcome to the Vigilate Dialogues. I am your host, Shaina Smith. Welcome you to another edition of the Dialogues. With me tonight in the boardroom, we're going to be talking about a very important topic. We have a capital investment program that's going on out at the cruise ship dock that a lot of people I know have been having a lot of conversation about. So we went and we sourced and we got all information direct from the horse's mouth. So tonight I have with me the Managing Director of the BVI Ports Authority, Mr. Claude Cline, and from PMI, Mr. Clarence Faulkner. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right. So a lot's been going on at Port lately. I actually have a bird's eye view of the project since it started. But I want us to basically kind of start at the beginning, lay the foundation as far as what's the objective of the project, because I know a lot of people still may not be clear as far as why we're doing what we're doing, and to go from there into talking about the issuance of shares and getting involved in this project as far as the development of our country. So, MD, what's we up to?
Yes, well, it's first of all, again, we appreciate you having us and taking the opportunity to share. It's an exciting time in the territory. It's an exciting time for us at the BVIPA. We are embarking on what is a game changer in the tourism product and the tourism offerings, and specifically in cruise tourism. This will certainly change the game for the foreseeable future in the industry. We have been on this journey for the last 2.5 years, and we're finally seeing much of the fruit of our labor, and it will live on long after us. We've been able to secure, of the 4 major cruise lines in the entire industry, we've been able to secure 2 15-year agreements with Disney Cruise Lines and Norwegian Cruise Lines. What's the shift in Florida Caribbean Cruise Association, and what we call FCCA, that is the parent and manages and monitors the entire industry. The trend is that they've moved to billion-dollar ships. I mean, these 5 and 7 class hotel type on the water, and that's carrying a minimum of 4,000 passengers, up to 2,000 crew. And our current facility at the dock simply cannot accommodate the new cruise lines that's come on board. And so what the core function of the British Virgin Islands Ports Authority is to provide the facilities to accommodate persons coming into our territory. And so we needed to lengthen, widen, and strengthen our existing pier. We've lengthened it to 1,312 feet and 8 inches. We're widening it to 60 foot. It's a capacity of 180 tonnage. And so what this provides for us is the proper pier that allows us to host and allow ships to berth with the new series, NCL's Getaway and Breakaway, Disney's Fantasy, Royal Caribbean's Equinox, and the Quantum class, rather.
And how many
coming on stream?
How many passengers are we looking at in those big class ships?
All of those ships carry 4,000 passengers, with about 1,700 to 2,000 crew that comes into port. And so it was necessary, it was incumbent, if we intended to remain in cruise tourism, if we had any means of expanding the tourism product, we had to take this path of building the proper facilities to accommodate these ships. And being able to secure 2 berthing agreements have, in essence, I've said it before, and it continues to be worth repeating, it makes the BVI the envy of the region, the jurisdiction that we know as the BVI, because nowhere else has any jurisdiction been able to secure this type of agreement. Where come June 1st of next year, according to law, the passenger head charge goes up to $15. So that's commensurate with what is going to be what we call substantive completion of the pier and the landside development, which means about 70% of the works must be complete. And so we're shooting for that. April 29th, NCL's Getaway will dock at this pier, and we're trying to arrange even for Disney at the time to be alongside that. We hope that we can work that out. If we can't, then we will do it later on in the year.
Okay.
But that's basically why we're having to do this. We currently cannot accommodate the new class of ships that's come on stream, and if we did not do this, we would lose an entire industry. And obviously, you know, sun, sea, and sand, whatever else you want to say, financial service or anything else, is the one thing that cannot be outsourced. So under the leadership of our Minister Mark Vanterpool and this government, we pivot and have decided to put our resources, our efforts, our energies, our labor towards this development, and we're here. And we're excited. We built a fantastic team. Clarence Faulkner, Clarence Faulkner is a part of our team and is responsible for the public offering. Sheila George and the flagship that she leads that we know of Harneys, and Vareen Vanterpool. Just a wonderful team that we've pulled together. And so though I sit as MD, there's nowhere in the world I could do this by myself. It's a wonderful team that surrounds us, and and we all are doing it together, and I'm just excited for the territory and what lies ahead.
And I think it's something where, you know, the debate about whether or not to do it at this juncture, I think it, you know, the case laid out kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah, it's mute.
It has to happen.
Yeah.
You know, and it probably should have already happened.
Yes.
When you think about it, because we're really crunched in terms of the timeline of making, putting something in place. Yes. You know, because these ships, they didn't just come online a couple of years ago. They've been pushing out there for quite some time.
They're pushing, and they're not waiting for us. They're not waiting for this jurisdiction. That the industry is growing, even with what we saw with the downturn in the American economy. Persons gravitated towards vacation. It became a more cost-effective way to travel. And so the industry continues to grow. Clarence can give you even more specific statistics that he's very good at building the case for that. But yes, the whole notion about whether or not are we sure, that's a mute discussion. It's on and it's good.
He says on, it's good. Well, if anyone that's tuned in tonight want to have any questions or comments, you can call us here at the studio at 494-7815. That's 494-7815. Okay, so with any undertaking of this magnitude, what kind of costs are we looking at to make this happen, and how are we going to pay for it? That's the next question.
Yeah, well, we're looking at a total development cost of $52 million, and we're hoping to keep it within that $53 million. We are forever going through the exercise of value engineering. That will continue on to the very end. And maybe Clarence is a good time to jump in here and talk about how we are raising the funds for the landside development.
Well, yeah, the figure that you mentioned, Claude, and let me say good evening again, and thanks for having us. The figure of 52 to 53 billion is inclusive of the two specific projects, which is the marine side, which is the extension of the pier, and then also the land side, which is the development of what we know now as the Tortola Pier Park. The Tortola Pier Park, the figure that we've been looking at is 23 million. And what we've done is we've split that into two classes of shares, one being common shares, the other being preference shares. The common shares are the shares owned by the BVI Ports Authority for a total of roughly 5 million. And the preference shares, which is the public offering that is being offered to the public right now, is a total of 16.5 million to be raised to complete the construction of the Tortola Pier Park.
Okay. So back it up a little bit for those of us who are, you know, as financially savvy as you. When we talk about the Tortola Pier Park, what's that entity, or what's the organization? Describe how that's.
The term that we've been using is something referred to as an SPV, which stands for Special Purpose Vehicle. And it achieves exactly that, a special purpose. Now, the reason the special purpose was created is that it provides a bit of flexibility that the public can also participate in this development. Typically, if the BVI Ports Authority wanted to go and do the Tortola Pier Park by itself, because it's a creature of statute, which is a statutory body under government, it would not allow them to issue shares to the public.
Okay.
They don't have that remit.
Okay.
So by creating this special purpose vehicle that owns the single assets, which is the Pier Park, they now have the opportunity through its memorandum and articles of association to now issue different classes of shares.
Okay.
Those classes of shares, preference shares, is what the public now has the opportunity to partake in.
Yeah, because initially when I heard about it, what came to mind was, is this a bond issue?
No.
Like how government issues bonds to raise money.
Yep.
In other jurisdictions. We don't do it here yet, but you know, that was a thought that came to mind. So I'm glad you cleared that up. All right. So we're issuing shares in the SPV, which is Tortola Pier Park project.
Yes.
Basically, Port Authority is the
shareholder of common shares.
Okay, common shares. Okay.
So the common shares, the difference between the common shares and the preference shares is that the common shares have the voting rights to make sure that the company is being run the way it should run.
Okay.
Preference shares provides the investors the opportunity to receive dividends in terms of the performance of the company. So the preference shareholders do not have voting rights, but the common shareholders do.
Okay. And we would receive dividends on an annual basis. How's that work?
The first dividend is designated for December 2016, which would be technically 2 years from now.
Okay.
From then, it will be every year thereafter until the duration of the respective class.
Okay.
There are 3 specific classes. For a period of 7 years, there is Class A, for a total of 5.75% in terms of dividends. There's a period of 10 years for Class B with a dividend payment of 6.75%, and there's Class C for a period of 15 years at a rate of 8.45%.
Okay. All right. So there's different levels in which you would receive dividends based on what's invested.
Based on the class.
It
doesn't matter which period you select.
Okay.
After 2016, dividends will be an annualized payment stream.
Okay.
Okay. I should also mention that the difference with the classes is just the duration in terms of the life of the issue. But the equivalent in terms of the par value per share is $1 per share for whichever class that you partake in.
Okay.
So if it's 5,000 in Class C versus 5,000 in Class A, it's still 5,000 shares.
Okay. And I think I remember at the first meeting that was at the college, we were saying that the entry point is at $5,000.
The minimum is 5,000, yes.
Okay. And is there a cap, or can I buy 10 million?
You can, and we will be happy to sign you up.
I'll give you the check after the show. Straight to the bank.
Yep.
All right. So basically, you're saying now that as far as the money that's being raised off the landside development, where are we in that part of the project? Because I know I think I'm seeing the visitors terminal that's already up, basically, and a lot of work's been going on the pier itself. So, are we tracking schedule, or how are we looking?
Yes, we're looking very good on the land side. Currently, buildings 1 and 6, the contractors are on site and construction have commenced. Right before Christmas, we will sign the contracts for buildings 2, 3, and 4. And then come after the first week of January, they're going to hit the ground running mobilization and all. Building number 5, which is flagship restaurant, we're hoping to wrap up negotiations on the eve of before Christmas, and so that they too can get the full green light and have all of their facilities in place so that they can commence. Building number 5, which is what we're calling a marquee restaurant, according to our plan, won't come on stream until September of next year.
Okay.
So they'll have a full 8-9 month period to construct and outfit the facilities. So in terms of the land side, we're very much on schedule.
Okay.
The marine side, the target date right now is the 3rd week of March, where the pier will be complete. And so we lagged at the upfront there a couple months, but we've been able to redeem some time, and the contractor has picked up some good speed, and we continue to press, of course, as the client. And but we are right on target in time to honor our berthing agreements, which is critical
for April.
And so yes, and so we are pushing we're pushing and pushing hard.
And that would include having the arrival terminal finish as well, too, right?
Yes, that terminal will be turned over to us on February 7th.
Okay.
Yeah, we will have that up and running.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that'll be completely fit out definitely by April
Absolutely.
to receive its first set of passengers.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So, Mr. Faulkner, convince me now in terms of how I should go about. What's the process of me getting my shares? Because actually, I haven't signed up yet. So,
Okay.
talk me through the process.
The process of a public offering embodies the issuance of a prospectus. And a prospectus is basically a document highlighting the project that basically says these are all the elements surrounding the project, including the risk associated with the project.
Okay.
Now, with any risk element, what you want to review carefully in the prospectus are the mitigating factors associated with each category of risk to see how the developers, how we as a team have decided this is how we're going to counter those risk elements.
Okay.
Now, in the back of the prospectus now has something referred to as a subscription form. And that subscription form basically says that this is the information we need to know to determine whether or not you're an eligible investor.
Okay. So let's
And-
talk about that real quick, because I think since the first meeting
Series, yes.
Yeah, the first series, there are some changes. So what's the criteria?
Yes. Initially, when we let me go back a little bit and talk about the series. We decided to break up the entire offering into 3 series.
Okay.
Now, the MD mentioned the issue of the first ship arriving here in April, the first mega ship, I should say, arriving here in April, which means that we cannot wait until the end of March to start this project. Now, you can see that the project has commenced already. Now, by breaking up the offering into 3 different series, it affords us the opportunity after each series is closed, we can then utilize the proceeds to keep the project going.
Okay. So
Right?
this is cash flow.
Yes.
Good.
Better at, I dare say, cash management.
Okay.
So,
Well, as a project manager, I know it gets cash flow schedule. You gotta make sure you got money to keep up with me, man. Let's go.
so the first series was launched in October 13th and ran to November 28th. November 28th, we closed that first series and we issued series 2. Now, one of the things we recognized with the first series is that we wanted to be available only to belongers and BVI residents, right? What we realized is a significant majority of the residents in the BVI have dual citizen, where they actually have U.S. citizenship as well.
Guilty.
Right? So, for the first series, because of the way the prospectus was written and the memorandum and articles of association of the company, U.S. persons were not eligible to participate in the offering.
Okay.
Right? That obviously created some.
Yeah, you cut a lot of us out there, buddy.
It was not intentional.
No,
Right.
but you know, I had a conversation about that. That was a whole different show. But it is something that we have a lot of dual citizens
Here in the
territory, more so that we realize.
Yeah. So what that also did for us in terms of the launch of Series 1 was to basically give us a benchmark to identify the interests, the type of persons that were
Okay.
interested, and what would make them eligible.
Okay.
Now, recognizing that, now with the launch of Series 2, we were able now to identify persons with dual citizenship that can participate.
Okay.
Now, under U.S. Securities Law of 1940 in the U.S., there is something referred to as Regulation S that exempt U.S. persons if they're outside the U.S. to participate in investment that is outside the U.S. That has created the avenue for persons who have dual citizenship that reside here in the territory to participate in the offering.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, good. We're up to our commercial break point, so we'll take a quick break. But if you're tuned in, be sure to call in after our break, 494-7815, and ask any questions or give your comments about the project, the issuance of shares, whatever it is, you may need some kind of clarification on. And we have the 2 persons here that can give you the most help possible, I believe. If anybody else, we don't know. So we'll take a break and be right back after these messages. Good evening and welcome to the Vigilate Dialogues. I'm your host, Shaina Smith, and with me I have the Managing Director of BVI Ports Authority, Mr. Claude Cline, and the Director of Pension Management Interactive, PMI, gotcha, Mr. Clarence Faulkner. And they are sharing with us tonight about the Tortola Pier Park project and how we can get involved in the building of our country, as it were. in terms of the issuance of shares. So, Mr. Faulkner, you were telling us, basically going through the process of where we are now. You already issued one series of shares, which was for basically Virgin Islanders and Belongers only. And then for those of us who had dual citizenship, there's now a series 2.
Has now been adjusted, I dare say. So the persons with dual citizenship can now participate in the offering.
Okay. And what's the window for that participation?
The window is 45 days from December 1st to January 15th.
Okay. So that's basically, that just started, well,
last week.
Last week.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So there's a form that we fill out. We were talking about
the subscription form that basically captures all the information about you, the individual, the investor. And that subscription form then comes into us. We do our due diligence to make sure everything is in order. And if you are eligible, then it's a matter of then recommending it to the board for approval. And that board then issues the resolution that says that you are now considered to be one of the shareholders as a shareholder in the company, and the registered agent will issue the share certificate in the investor's name.
Okay. So back up 1 second. You just talked about the board. Which board is this?
This is the
Ports
port
Authority? Or?
No.
Okay.
Ports Authority is a shareholder in the company, but the company itself, Tortola Pier Park Limited, has its own board of directors.
Okay. All right. And so those persons are the ones that would approve or disapprove an application for shares?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So typically how long does it take as far as, I submit my application?
Submit your application. The offering has to be closed before the issuance of the share certificate.
Okay.
So what would happen is if you submit your subscription now, we go through the evaluation process. Once the series closes on January 15th, we will have everything prepared and recommended to the board on the 17th, I dare say. And it's when they will typically hold their next meeting within a matter of days.
Okay.
That is then recommended to the
So they have a list
office.
then of everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll have to have a list. We'll have to make sure the money is in the account, the subscription has been made, and the recommendation put forward that this person is eligible to partake in the offering.
Okay. And I noticed here in the information summary in the prospectus, it says that the use of the proceeds is to assist with financing the Pier Park project. So this can't be used towards any other project. This is specifically for the cruise pier.
And that's the specific purpose of the SPV. The SPV has one specific purpose, and it's the, whether the opportunity to raise capital to finance that project.
Okay.
Let's say, for instance, the BVI ports wanted to develop another port, let's say West End.
Yes.
Or Road Town. They could not do it under this SPV.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, I shouldn't say they could not, because it would mean going back and changing all the laws. But based on what's there right now, the SPV has one purpose, and it's Tortola Pier Park.
Okay. All right. I'm following you now. So for those who may have had that question in their mind, as far as,
what the
money
SPV is.
With it, yeah, exactly. In terms of the funds raised be used, how do we know the funds will be raised towards cruise ship dock? Versus any other ports.
Well, it's not a cruise ship dock, and that's something that I should clarify.
Okay.
There are two specific projects that is going on over in that location that are mutually exclusive.
Okay.
The cruise ship pier and the extension and the widening, that has nothing to do with the pier park.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
What will happen is, because of the berthing agreements create the traffic that will come through the pier park. And create the opportunity for the persons within the Pier Park to generate the revenue that pays the rental income to the company Tortola Pier Park Limited.
Okay. So we have, so basically then Port Authority are the ones that's funding the expansion of the dock as far as those improvements. Okay. And then what we're talking about as far as the Tortola Pier Park is the shopping center, the village part of it.
Yes.
Okay.
The land, what we consider the land side.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I hope that cleared it up, because I wasn't too sure. I thought everything was one.
No, it's two separate projects.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. So viewers, again, if you want to participate in our dialogue tonight, call us at 494-7815, 494-7815. So you've been having a series of meetings around the community. How has the feedback been, as far as questions or concerns that are being raised about the offering?
I would dare say that it's an interesting experience. Simply, you get a lot of questions with one-on-one sessions versus a public forum. You mentioned something about investment education earlier on. And what we've realized is someone would prefer to come and sit and have that dialogue and have their question answered. Versus coming out and sitting down and saying, all right, I'm now going to ask a question. I don't know if it's that they're just shy or they're just afraid that, you know, they may not get the answer they're looking for. So the reaction has been mixed, I dare say. There are quite a few people that have come out to the public sessions, but there's just as much that have called in and said, I'd like to ask a question. Can I get some information? And instead of coming out and sitting in the forum for an hour, they'll come to the office and sit for 2 hours. But the good thing is that they've left with a better understanding than simply listening to, you know, the word of mouth and I dare say the propaganda of what's been floating around. And one of the things that everyone I can say have left with is saying, but that's not what I thought it was. And I think by the time we're able to walk them through the process and what actually is happening and then show them the evidence of what is happening, they're left with a better understanding of why they would want to be a part of this.
Okay.
So
as far as getting involved.
I would throw it out to anyone and everyone out there who has a question. Find one of us, find a member of the team, and be able to get the correct information. And that's something that we really need to stress, that there's no such thing as a stupid question, because if you don't know, especially when you don't know.
So it's better to ask the question and be very clear about what it is you need to know. So you're making a very intelligent decision, because, you know, $5,000 is a lot of money for anybody. To say, well, you know, it's a good idea, but then to say I'm going to invest it in this and understanding how I'm going to get my money back, what the rules of engagement are, because, you know, we can't put it in and then next month I call you and tell you, well, something came up, I need it back. So those are things that are very important for persons to be
that's something that that's something that we've spent a bit of our time on, instead of just talking about what the investment is and the opportunity for the investment. We spend a little time speaking to individuals to make sure that they understand the implication this can have on their financial health. Simply because, like you said,
can you afford to do this now?
Exactly. And more importantly, do you understand that from the period you make the investment, that investment is locked up for the period that you've chosen in terms of the class, whether it's 7, 10, or 15 years. Now, don't get me wrong. We're not trying to say it is not for everyone. It is open to everyone. Is it available? Yes, it is. Does it fit with everyone's financial health? No, it doesn't. And we want to make sure that we understand that, because we're in no way in this process trying to put persons in financial difficulty. The sole purpose is, if you recognize you have some residual income that you have sitting and you would want to make an investment, participate in the growth of the BVI, here is an opportunity for you to do so.
Exactly.
And in addition to what Clarence have said, you see, the public meetings are important for a couple of reasons. One, to provide persons the opportunity to take advantage of what factually, mathematically is the best deal opportunity in town in terms of investment. So we're going to continue to push it until the very end. Continue to be transparent, continue to try to put the message out there publicly. But obviously investment is a serious matter, and it is a serious-minded person that's going to come and is going to sit, is going to do the follow-through. And so we know much of the grunt of the work is going to be done behind the scenes, the one-on-one, and so those kind of targeted and intentional persons. So we have to, it's not either or for us, it's both and. We want to keep it in the public's face, keep it in the public ears, and let them know that they need not miss such a wonderful opportunity. You know, the reason why I'm so excited about this personally, you know, I have a 7-year-old son. In 15 years, you know, he's going to be 29, 22, right? You come up to whether it's $5,000 or $15,000 or $50,000, you know, it may not be for me, but it's for him. You know, it's for her, it's for your grandchildren, and they can grow with the growth of your territory.
Yeah.
The person's, what gets me excited about this, you have an opportunity, 5.75%, 6.75%, 8.45% annualized returns, 7, 10, and 15-year increments on what is in essence a piece of real estate that you can stick your head outside your window and see, that you can drive down the street and see. It's visible, it's tangible. You can walk through it, you can have dinner there, you can do parasailing from there, you know, you can visit a cruise ship from there. And when you think in terms of investment, I don't know, and maybe Clarence can help, he's far more of a guru than I am, but I don't know of a better investment opportunity than piece of real live estate that grows, that appreciates.
Yeah.
So you can do that. Also, you can become a tenant, a merchant, start your business, expand your business on the very same Pier Park. We've had over 200 letters of interest and people showing up at meetings wanting to get in. You know, that's the level of excitement and the level of what's the word I'm looking for? Interests that people have exhibited, and so we want to continue to say to people's ears and let them know, listen, don't miss this opportunity. If you have $5,000 sitting in the bank, on whether it's a CD or some savings that pays you pennies on the dollar, I mean, you can go pick up your statement right now and look at it.
Yep.
You know, your $5,000 has grown to $5,003. You know, we're saying take the $5,000 and invest in this project at 5.75%. At the end of your 7 or your 10 or your 15 year, in banking, I guess they call it principal protected. I mean, we don't make guarantees because the investment is a risk, but I'm saying, let's say Armageddon comes, you know?
Well, we don't need it then.
Well, exactly.
At that point, it's like, okay.
At the end, but you have an opportunity to invest in the growth of your territory. One of the things that I've always been the complaint of our locals is that our country is growing ahead of us, our territory is growing ahead of us. And so we can't just talk about it or just complain. This is an opportunity for you to participate in the growth of what is one of the major pillars in the territory, the tourism product. You can go down and then, you know, you can be confident, you can be comfortable. The British Virgin Islands Ports Authority, a quasi-governmental statutory body, is the singular shareholder of the common share, whose responsibility it is to ensure that this thing runs and runs well.
Correctly, yeah.
And then you have central government, who is the sole shareholder of the BVIPA. You have the central government, who is the guarantor of the loan funding component of this development. So I say that to say, if you're looking for something to trust, to be confident in, that you can put your money and say, hey, you know, it's going to be there, and I'm going to see the investment. This ain't just some floozy stuff that's out here or whatever else you've experienced, be it local or international. This is something solid, something concrete, something Clarence and PMI have gone through, I mean, drilled down to the lowest entity and have come and says, hey, the net present value and what all these other acronyms that he puts out there, the math works. You can't go wrong. And we want to say to our people, we want to look in that camera and tell them, listen, don't miss this opportunity. This is the time to invest. It can't be shoulda, coulda, woulda, I wish I did. No, this is it. A grand opportunity has been provided to us, and I'm encouraging persons to take full advantage. And whatever information that you need, the BVIPA, PMI, here's where you come to get the proper information, and we will be delighted to sit with you at any lengths, explaining to you and sharing with you what's involved. And we know at the end of the day, even if you don't have $5,000, you're going to want to go find the $5,000 and invest because it's that great. It's that grand.
So we talk in terms of the dividends, because now I guess that's probably one of the key selling points for a lot of people. And when you talked about we get the dividends would start paying out, I think it's 2016?
Yes.
Okay. So how does that work? What's the trigger? Because I remember in one of the presentations where it was being spoken about in terms of the management board of the Pier Park would make that decision as far as dividends being paid out. How much dividends am I looking at in terms of the amount of shares I buy? What's the process there?
Okay. Let's go back to what is dividends. Normally when someone puts CD in the bank, they get interest. Normally when someone makes an investment in a bond, they get something referred to as a coupon. Typically when you make an investment and they say the rate of return, all of them technically results in the same thing. And what it basically means is for the principal amount of money that you've invested into something, how much has that money now generated to give you something else in return?
Okay.
Right? So in this case, let's say for instance an individual invested $10,000 for 10 years. The rate on the 10-year is 6.75. So what it means is 6.75 for a period of a year, you will generate that amount as a return, dividends, coming back to you during that period in time.
So every year, or that's over the 10 years?
No, every year. Every year you get 675.
Okay.
So in this example, if I do the math, 10,000 over a 10-year period equates to just over $16,000. So what you're saying is every year you're going to get a fixed amount, a dividend check, because some persons have asked, why can't we leave the money in there until the end of the 10th year?
Okay.
One of the things we want to make sure is that the company is financially sound and financially viable. And the way you do that is to make sure there is limited amount of debt associated with the company. Now, if you do not pay out those dividends, it means now that you as a company, you as an entity, has an obligation to your investors to pay them the dividend that you promised them.
Okay.
That you indicated as part of the company's rules that you will pay the dividend.
Because that's always going to be on the books.
That's always going to be on the books.
Yeah.
Right? So the best thing to do to maintain a sound financial company is to not have any obligations. And by not having any obligation, it means pay the dividend.
Okay.
That's why we've said every year after 2016, you know, the construction is finished, everyone is there, the business is running, the finance is there. Now that it's in, it's now time to pay the investors the annual dividend as so promised.
Okay. And then that will be over the period of time that they signed up
That
for.
they signed up for. So if someone, let's say for instance, someone did the 7-year, they'll get the dividend for the 6 years, and then the 7th year they get back their initial investment in the example 10,000 plus the dividend for that period in time that they've invested.
Okay.
And you can invest in all 3 series.
Okay.
You're not limited to just one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we've seen that.
All 3 classes, yeah.
Okay. And after, well, basically after this issuance, is that it, or are we going to be able to own shares in the company? Let's say, for example, if there was future development that had to be done, or, you know, how is that going to work?
Well, one of the things we recognize is that the environment here in the BVI has limited opportunities. And there is something referred to as franchise risk in terms of how would this, how does the public see this SPV? I mean, the MD mentioned the issue of Paulson saying, we don't have an opportunity to participate in the growth. Well, I dare say this is a trial run to see how the investing public views the opportunity that is there for them to invest.
Okay.
If this does really well, as we expect it to do, then it creates the avenue to now say, the next major development, government's mandate will always be one that says, we want our people to participate in the development.
Yeah.
To create another SPV, and it creates an opportunity for persons to invest.
So go ahead. Okay. All right. Sounds good. So now here's the curveball. With the series that you have, it's broken down as far as what's the goal, raising the 16.5 million. If we fall short of the goal, what's the backup plan? What's the contingency?
And that's why I mentioned. I thought you said you had a curveball.
Yeah. I don't know.
And that's why we said the prospectus highlights the risk and the mitigating factors. Now, one of the risks is that the deal is undersubscribed. Now, if the deal is undersubscribed, there are several avenues that we can do. We can open the offering to the wider public that includes any and everyone out there.
Okay.
Right? So investors from anywhere can decide that we want to invest in the project. So that creates a wider market and a wider investment pool for persons to participate. Right now it's limited to BVI landers and so forth.
Okay.
Right? The second step is the SPV has the ability and the authority to take out a loan to finish the project.
Okay.
Right? That's another opportunity. The other opportunity is to go back to the shareholder, Remember, BVI Ports Authority is the sole shareholder. In any investment that you're doing in any major capital development, the one place that you can typically refer to is back to the shareholder. So that's another opportunity. The other opportunity is to actually go to central government and say, well, here's the situation. Can you provide funding?
Yeah.
So what we've had is 4 or 5 different contingency mechanisms that are in place to say, if the deal is undersubscribed and the public is not interested, do we then put these into action? Because the key thing is the project cannot be allowed to fail.
Yeah, it has to finish.
It has to finish.
Yeah, it has to finish.
Okay.
That's a given.
Yeah, this is of national import. And with the BVIPA and central government, respectively, shareholders, one of the other, failure is not even a part of the lexicon. It has to succeed, and the reason why we are executing the way that we are, because we know, for the sake of our territory, for the sake of our children and grandchildren, this has to become a model of how major developments, infrastructure works, will be funded, because governments, even in first world countries, just the funds are no longer there.
Yeah.
There's not infinite resources.
Yep.
So we have to be good stewards and good fiduciaries of all of our resources, and that's why we're going to see to it that this project succeeds, and that does well, because it sets the temperature, it becomes a model, it shifts the paradigm of how we're going to be able to fund development in our territory.
Yeah. And there are a lot of things in terms of, port development, period, has been, a current topic of discussion in a lot of areas.
Last Thursday, the USVI launched their new pier that they're looking to put in for their mega ships. You look at St. Martin, they're actually doing something else. You look at Antigua, there's something called Sugar Point, Barbados, that they're looking to put in a $400 million facility. See, what we need to appreciate is that the industry has shifted. Over the last 5 years, 40% of world cruisers are now going to the Caribbean. So the ships and the companies that own the ships that are now coming through the region are no longer coming on ships that carry 2,000-3,000 passengers. It's now 4,000.
The demand
that's
now.
That's the benchmark. And if you want to be a part of the industry, you have to have the facilities to cater to that industry.
Because they're basically going to retire the smaller ships at some point.
Yeah.
Or move them into other jurisdictions.
Into Europe.
They're into Europe.
Time, speed, and distance is what matters. I mean, at their bottom line, rather than carrying 2,000, if I can carry 4,000, hey, let's move the 4,000. So it works.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I could see where that trend, basically, there's no turning back from that, because if the numbers are there for the cruise line, they're gonna move it, because.
I wouldn't say there's no turning back. The thing is, these ships will sail right by.
I wasn't talking about that part, but yeah, that would happen too, because if they don't have, it's the same thing to the challenge, and that's another show when we talk about mega yachts. If they don't have the berthing facilities here, they're not gonna overnight and stay and inject into the economy like we would want them to, because we don't have the facilities to cater to them.
And you have to provide the facilities. I mean, that's the hard, the infrastructure has to be there, and then the quality of the product and the standard of service matters. The persons that are traveling on these lines, getaway, breakaway, quantum class, fantasy, are spending what the private yacht charter family spends on these mega ships, and so their disposable income is higher. They expect a certain level of service. They expect certain quality deliverables in their product, and we have an opportunity here, not just with the infrastructure. That's almost comparatively, that's the easy part. It's lifting the level of service and the quality of products in terms of our offerings. That's what's going to become important, that helps us to be sustainable in this industry.
And that's very key that you brought that up, because just on the last program we were talking about, even with the whole thing of conversion of cruise ship passengers to overnight passengers, because in looking at the numbers, they're comparables. For every one overnight, we have one cruise ship. So if we're ramping up now in terms of cruise ship, then we have to make sure we're amping our game up, that the conversion rate now maintains,
Yes.
because then it's even more money into the economy on both sides, actually.
On both sides. And you have, one of the major components of these button agreements is the whole marketing component from these and NCL that markets your destination. And one of the things that we've been saying on these roadshows is that, listen, this is an opportunity for you to expand your business or get into the business. The historic site areas needs to be developed. Little shops and stores needs to be built around that tells a story about our rich heritage and our culture.
Yeah.
Our water taxi services, not just land-based, but land-based guys and gals need to think about and
Expanding onto the
approaching
water.
the bank of how you move these people on what we call the marine highway. And so there are wonderful opportunities, not just at the Pier Park, but all of the spin-offs that takes place. The beach breaks on Prickly Pear or Yours Van Dyke or Virgin Gorda. I mean, the persons who own land along the Ridge Road and elsewhere, the lookout points to get your tamarind juice, get your the things that are uniquely BVI that showcases your territory, and sense that we all must become advocates that says, hey, we're open for business and you're welcome here. And then when persons come, that they receive the kind of service and the kind of products that says, you know what, we're going back to the BVI, and they're referring. I mean, it really matters. So this is bigger than just what you've seen out there in the 4.83 acres of land.
Yeah,
it's about our territory.
It's a lot that can happen in 24 hours, because we basically have an 8-hour window, so to speak, to make an impression on someone.
Yeah.
That would make them next year, we're going on vacation in the BVI for a week.
That's right.
And that's the type of mindset that I'm seeing that we need to have
Disney,
in terms of it.
I should mention, Disney has a blog that that if you follow, they tend to do several surveys that they put out there. And one of the things that I found interesting is that their passengers rated the BVI as technically the #1 destination that they visited. But digging deeper into the statistics, one thing that was quite interesting is that the expectation level when they are coming to the BVI is high.
Yeah.
But when they've left, it has dropped. What that says to me, as a country, we need to raise the standard.
Yes.
So when someone comes in and they have a high expectation, they left with a better understanding and an appreciation for why they've visited that jurisdiction and why they'd want to go back.
Come back, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, customer satisfaction is very key. I think a lot of times we talk about customer service, but it's not really about customer service, it's about customer satisfaction.
Yeah.
Because if whoever it is, when they come and they are satisfied, it means that you start to build now loyalty as a customer.
Yeah.
That you can hear people talk about, I've been coming to the BVI for 30-something years, and there's no place else I would think about coming for a vacation.
Yeah.
And that's the type of product we have now. Come to think of how we can improve on what we have. So
Yeah, we have to develop our people. We have to provide the training. Part of the agreements provides for opportunities to do exactly that. Training. We've had discussion even with the executives about persons. You go on these cruises, you meet people from everywhere except the BVI. And so one of the doors that we want to open up is for persons coming out of high school, coming out of college, moving into the hospitality industry, starting to work on these ships. I mean, so there's just a multiplicity of benefits that can be garnered from what we're embarking on here. And listen, see, the next unique thing about the BVI in terms of that expectation, because we hear it when we sit in our C-Trade Miami and our FCCA meetings. People coming to the BVI. It's Carl Holtz, the president of Disney Magical Cruise Line, says that we were the last, what he called bastion, virgin territory in the jurisdiction. So it's the tremendous expectation. It's exotic. I mean, have you sailed around the BVI? Have you sailed into the harbor? It's unbelievable.
people take for granted what we have here.
Yeah, and
that's my conclusion, though.
Yeah, and so that's why the level of excitement for them wanting to come, it's exotic. It's not just the USVI. We love our regional neighbors. It's not just the other, but there's something unique about this place, and we need to recapture that and wrap the resources around that helps us to build a kind of structure, build our people, so that we can say we're open for business, and you are welcome here.
Yeah.
We the BVIPA and the government, by building this development themselves, there are only 28 destinations in the whole region. 16 of those destinations are private held islands and places where the cruise lines own and operate.
Really?
Absolutely.
Wow.
And so what you have here is a scenario where, hey, the cruise lines are not in control. You know, you are in control of your own destiny, but you have to deliver. You have to deliver the goods because they have options.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, it's all of that of why we as a team are so excited about what we're doing here. This is a labor of love, and you know, we're enjoying this hard work, but it's meaningful work.
Yeah.
It's meaningful
Yeah.
work. You know, it's
And
a
it's an
work of
investment.
purpose.
It's an investment in the future, because one of the things I'm hearing people talk about is, you know, again, with the issuance of shares and that investment, that's something where, you know, that's funds now that's available to talk about college and, you know, furthering the education of your children. And, you know, even with us in terms of a territory, this is something that we're investing in the future of the country, that we're probably not going to see or understand the returns that we're going to benefit from it another 10, 15 years out.
Oh, absolutely.
But we have to do it now. So that's very key. Well, gentlemen, we are approaching our closing hour. So anything else we need to be educated about, Mr. Faulkner?
Well, there's a lot.
He said there's a lot.
Well, I mean, I want to go back to the point that you raised in terms of persons asking questions, and asking the right people the right questions. And I don't know if there's a lot of right questions, but I know what there's the right answers. And I would challenge persons to at least ask a question, even if, I mean, while I'm encouraging you to invest, even if you don't invest, find out exactly what is going on. Because even if you don't have the financial resources, at least you have the right information to continue
for the next
spreading,
opportunity become.
and the next opportunity as well. So it's a matter of persons becoming more educated on what it is, what is really at stake. And as Claude mentioned earlier, it's a piece of assets that you can actually go and see what's going on. I remember
to make sure it's doing well. This is my investment.
Yeah, I remember speaking with a couple who wanted to understand what was going on, and when I showed them where we were, the first statement was, "I didn't even know you guys started." You know, and that tells me something, because it tells me that it's right there, and people don't recognize that it's already, you know, full speed ahead. So it's coming in. If you have concerns from various avenues, find the right information and be comfortable knowing that, okay, I get it.
Have a better understanding of it. MD?
Yeah, we want to push person towards Clarence. This is the first step. You call the port PMI in the Mill Mall. We're going to give it the phone number. And what's the phone number?
494-4484. We're located on the second floor on Mill Mall, the end closest to the Palm Grove Park. And I guess BVI Ports Authority, 494-3435. If you would like to send in an email with questions, because we get a bunch of those as well, it's pierpark@pmipensions.com. And the minute your email comes in, we respond right away.
And the final thing I want to say, Shaina, and again, thank you for having us, is that this Series 2, we really want to strongly encourage our people to participate. Now is the time to participate. Don't say you're going to wait until the third series.
And this isn't applying to just people here, but also in the diaspora, right? As far as if I have cousins away in the U.S., they can get involved if they have status? How does that work?
If they are permanent in the U.S., then no.
No. Okay.
No. Because what happens is once you're a resident and paying taxes in the U.S., based on securities law, then the investment has to be licensed and registered under the U.S. as well.
So what you need to do is you need to get their money
and put it in for them.
And you invest.
But see, now you have to explain these things, because that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, U.S. people I have in the States?
In the States. And then you see on top of that, the reason why we really wanted to do this in this series here is because if for any reason we are undersubscribed, then we are going to open the third series to anyone.
Yeah.
And there is a floodgate. There are some folk biting at the bit,
Yeah.
wanting the chance that they understand it, they see it clearly, and they are prepared to jump in. So we really want to encourage our people.
Make sure who
that
can get involved,
who are
get
deemed to
involved.
belong, who are residents,
Yeah.
to get involved in this series that's being offered now, that's going to go until January 15th. If you have a little small group, your investment group, you want to get together, pull together, come in, meet Clarence, call him. He is more than willing, able to sit with you, go through the whole process. But this is the time to do it. The best Christmas gift you can give yourself is investing in this development.
There you go.
Absolutely.
That's
It's
a good gift for real.
It's the gift that will keep on giving.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
Amen.
All right.
All right.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for being here on the dialogues and clarifying, I hope, for anyone that has been hearing on a project, didn't realize the project was full speed. Trust me when I tell you it's full speed ahead, it's full speed ahead. Because I think I already saw the dolphin out at the end of the docks.
Yes.
I know the piling is complete. So they're on target, trust me. A lot's going to happen in the next 90 days
Absolutely.
once the holiday passes. So I expect to see, it all come together by spring, basically, is what we're looking at.
Absolutely.
Right? So be sure, call the Port Authority PMI. You can find the information in their phone book, and call and participate. I think this is very important. We talked about nation building all year on the dialogues, and these are the types of things when we see opportunities that we need to take advantage of them, and at least educate ourselves on them so that, when more opportunities present itself, we're, on point and ready to go. So you've been tuned into the dialogue. You can catch a replay of our program here on Sundays at 6 p.m. and we're here Thursdays at 8 p.m. Let's continue the change for a better Virgin Islands.